Another edition of Sunday Night Live with myself. I'm Zai, the Money Guy. It is December 6, 2020. This is episode 2. Please join me. We're going to have some fun tonight. In the next 30 or 40 minutes, we're going to talk about money, how money impacts you, how you can get better with money, how you can save it. This is the Money Show. It is Sunday Night Live with Zai, the Money Guy. Come and join me. Let's have a discussion. This episode is brought to you by Burger King. Burger King, be your way. That is their new slogan. I think they're trying to appeal to the millennial generation there. So I got a nice coupon too. If you're in Toronto, you can get a coupon for a $5 Whopper meal at Burger King. Buy one Whopper sandwich or BK veggie sandwich plus medium fries and one medium soft drink for $5. Not bad. Okay. So, it's Sunday night. We're live. This is Zai, the Money Guy. We're going to talk about money. Come and join me. Okay, let's go to the first segment of the show. The first segment of the show is in the news. Oh, before we get into that, a little bit about myself. So, I am Zai, the Money Guy, and I consider myself an expert in my finances. Okay, so I'm not, I'm not a CMA or a CGA. I'm not an accountant per se, but a few things about me. One, I've managed to live below my means. I have a good emergency fund that can see me through about an entire year. I have no to little credit card debt. I have no credit card debt. I track my transactions and I use a budgeting tool called You Need a Budget. So it's a software budgeting tool. So I say those things not to brag, not here to brag, but that's where I'm coming from, and that is sort of the purpose of my channel, is to teach others how to get better with their money. You don't have to be a financial expert to be an expert in your finances. That's my slogan. All right. So again, this episode is brought to you by Burger King. Burger King, be your own way, be your way. I think that's their new slogan. Okay. So my show, 30 minutes. The next 30 minutes, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk a little bit about money. And the first segment in my show is called In the News. So, if you're joining here, thank you for joining. I'm glad to have you. So welcome. Thanks so much. I hope your night is going well. We're going to talk a little bit about money. And in my first segment, this is episode 2, by the way, so welcome to Sunday Night Live with Zai, the Money Guy. In my first segment, in the news, we are going to take a look at some headlines and have a little bit of a discussion. So the first article, planning for Christmas when money is tight. All right. So let me just check the feed. Welcome to the show. This is Zai, the Money Guy. Hope you're having a wonderful night. Let's have a discussion about money and finances and why that's important to you. So in the news, planning for Christmas when money is tight. Now this is, I thought this was an appropriate article. So the article is in the chronicleherald.ca, the Chronicle Herald, and it is written by someone named Scott Hanna or Kelly Grant, I believe. Now, I think many of us have Christmas traditions, whether for the most part large Christmas traditions, and with the effects of COVID, especially this year, we're finding that those traditions are becoming much smaller, right? So we're scaling down our Christmases, and I know for me, I'm not able to travel this year for Christmas. Usually I go to Vancouver, I go to the West Coast, and I visit my family, so I'm going to try my best not to tear up here, but This year I will have to spend Christmas away from my family, which kind of sucks. But it's okay. So we have Zoom and we have FaceTime. So for many people, I think it's going to be a Zoom or FaceTime Christmas. I hope that's not the case. I hope you are able to see your family. And if you are, then that's wonderful. But in this article, so I am taking a look at an article right now that says, planning for Christmas when money is tight. And that's what we're discussing here on Sunday Night Live with Zai. I'm your host, Zai the Money Guy. Thank you for joining. And in the article, it does mention how a lot of people are scaling down their Christmases, especially this year. So if you are scaling down your Christmas, then let me know in the comments. How is Christmas going to look different for you this year? Are you tightening the purse strings, right? Are you cutting back on your Christmas spending? And I think for a lot of people, we will have to cut back on some of our spending, right? And the article gives some good ideas, right? So what are some alternatives for you to save money during the holidays? For one, you can, and this is a really good one, you could just simply go outside for a walk and take in the Christmas lights, or maybe even a drive. But I think a walk would actually save more money. And I think that's a great way to cut back on some of your spending during Christmas. You could also go sledding. So sledding is a very low cost activity that you can do during the winter. So, Christmas doesn't have to be this huge commercial expense, right? It can be something that, as long as you're with your family and you're spending time with your family, then that's what's important. So another thing that this article mentions is just grabbing some hot chocolate for the family, right? Hot chocolate is a low cost activity, or a low cost drink or food that you can enjoy with your family. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, obviously, on hot chocolate. But I think the point of the article is to get creative, right? This is going to be, I think, a very different Christmas for a lot of people. I think it's going to be scaled down. If you feel that your Christmas is going to be different this year, please leave a comment and let me know how you'll be celebrating your holidays this year. And if you're just joining, welcome to the show. This is Zai the Money Guy. We are live on Sunday night with Zai. This is episode 2. Right? And this episode is brought to you by Burger King. I had a Whopper tonight. Thank you to those who are joining. Okay, let's continue to talk about this article. So really the point is we will have to be a bit creative during this holiday season. And they talk about something called gift giving creep, which is interesting, which is the idea of, every year there are certain gift expectations, right? You give somebody perhaps a really nice Christmas present, then the following year, do you have to give more? And sometimes that can add up, and there can be a lot of pressure in the types of gifts that you're giving, the amount of gifts that you're giving, and it adds up. I know for me, when I look at my budget, gift giving is a big part of my budget, and you'd be surprised if you add up all of the gifts in an entire year, it can add up. And I did that, and for me, it can be, it can be like a few $1,000s actually, if you're, giving cash gifts I give cash gifts to my nephew and my niece, to my cousins, and I would never stop that, but I mean, it can get expensive. And if you can get creative, then that's one way where you can sort of reduce the expenses of the holiday traditions or gift giving. And another idea that they talked about, so if you're looking for additional money that you can put towards Christmas presents, then you can take a look at your points, right? So if you have credit card points towards the end of the year, or if you have cash back. I know my cash back points, they do accumulate, and by the end of the year, I'm able to take that chunk of money and withdraw it, and it might not be a huge amount, but a little can sometimes go a long way, and you can take that money and put it towards presents or put it towards this year's holiday traditions. So I think Christmas is going to be different for a lot of people in terms of their finances, and I think you can still have a really good time with your family, with the tradition. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. I can't possibly comprehend any family member or families, not being happy because there aren't a certain amount of gifts under the tree. For most families anyways, right? And, it's not always about the presents. For the most part, it's probably more about spending time, hopefully if you can, with your family. So, interesting article. If you're just joining, this is I, the Money Guy. We are live on Sunday night. It is December 6th. This is episode 2 of my program. I do this program every Sunday night at 7 p.m. We talk about money, talk about finances and how it affects you. Hopefully I can provide some tips on how you can save money and how you can make money as well. This episode is brought to you by Burger King. BK. I think their slogan is "Be Your Way." Hold on, I'm going to look up the Burger King slogan one more time. Burger King's slogan is "Be Your Way." All right. I think that means you do you, or be you, right? If you're just joining, this is I, the Money Guy. This is my show. I'm live. It is Sunday at 7 p.m. and I'm doing a segment called In the News. And right now we're talking about planning for Christmas when money is tight, right? So when the money is tight, the idea is to be as creative as possible. And there's all sorts of ways to do that, right? I talked about just going for a walk and taking in all of the Christmas lights, or going sledding with your family. I mean, that's like a cheap toboggan down a hill, right? And avoiding gift-giving creep. I think that's a good one. And then using your points or your cash rewards, if you do have them, towards the holiday traditions. But I think the main point is you want to spend less money and spend more time with your family. Okay, let's look at the next article. All right. Hello there, and thank you for joining. This is I, the Money Guy. I'm live Sunday night, 7 p.m. This is episode 2, where I talk about finance, personal finance, saving money, making money. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. We're going to have some fun. This is a segment that I'm doing. It's called In the News, and we're going to talk about the next article that is in the news. Okay, let's take a look. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Okay, this next article is going to be a little bit controversial. Okay? And I find this one funny, so I'm going to try to be not too political here, but the article is about AOC, so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I probably butchered that. I'm sorry, AOC. But the article is, AOC responds to criticism over campaign selling $58 tax the rich sweatshirt. Okay, so AOC is selling a sweatshirt for $58. The slogan is tax the rich. She is obviously making money from the sweater. Now, there's some controversy. So some people think that it's a bit hypocritical or a bit of a contradiction on whether you can sell a sweater using the capitalist system and profit from that sweater for whatever cause. And maybe for her, the ends justifies the means. I totally get that. But there's some interesting things about this story, I find. And in particular, so if you've just joined, we're going through the news right now. This is Zai, the Money Guy. Welcome to the show. This is live with Zai on Sunday night, where we talk about money, we talk about finances, savings, etc. And we're talking about an article right now where AOC is responding to criticism over a sweater that she sold for $58 that says "Tax the Rich." So, I mean, I find this story quite interesting because, for one thing, it's an expensive sweater, $58 for a sweater. So she's charging a lot for it, and it was even more than that. At one point, it was $65. And her premise is that the sweater does not use any slave labor. And I think that's really good, actually. So I'm not sure where I sit on this article, but I think it's important that she isn't using slave labor. So that, for one thing, that's important. And for that, the price of the sweater is probably going to be more expensive, right? But here's the problem. Who can afford this sweater, right? She's making a critique against the current system, maybe against the rich. The sweater says "Tax the Rich," for one thing. And she is known to be somewhat of a socialist Democrat. So it's interesting that she's selling apparel to make profit and additional funds. So I don't know what you guys think about that. Do you think AOC is doing something right? Do you think she's doing something wrong? Is she a bit hypocritical? I think she might be just a little bit. I don't want to be too mean to AOC here. That's not what this show is about. My question to you is $58 a lot of money for a sweater? I think it might be just a little bit expensive. And I think overall, I think her initiative is a noble one. But here's the thing. It's like people don't buy, for the most part, they don't buy expensive clothing, right? There's a reason why there's something called fast fashion. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But it's a response to how people buy clothing, right? They want the $10 sweater or they want the $12 sweater. So I agree with her in the sense that, you know, she's charging $58 because she's not using slave labor, and that's good. I just wish more people would pay that much for clothing. So would you spend $58 for a sweater if that was you? Let me know in the comments. And I mean, I find AOC quite interesting because she does make a six-figure income, and she's a heavy advocate of socialism or democratic socialism. Yet she enjoys a lot of the benefits of a capitalist system. Now, I live in Canada, so I understand we are actually a little bit socialist if you think about our country, right? We have free healthcare in Canada, and there are pros and cons to that. But for the most part, we are a capitalist society. So I mean, I get some of her point, but it's quite interesting. So what do you guys think? A Tax the Rich sweater for $58, is that hypocritical of AOC? I think it might be just a little bit, just a tad bit. I think her heart is probably in the right place. Is that the best way to, you know, solve a lot of our current problems? I mean, that we start talking about inequality, right? And what's interesting about inequality is usually when the gap does widen and there is so much inequality, then people do look to tax the rich. And that desire I think for a lot of people is to tax the wealthy, to get the wealthy to pay their fair share. Is that fair overall? I'm not sure. I know that is usually, if you look at history, that's usually a common occurrence. It's happened time after time, right? So usually the wealth gap widens so much that people start revolting. You do get serious revolt, and I think we can see it, especially today. We can see that being an effect of inequality. So her solution to that is to tax the rich. But that is a complicated thing. There's no clear-cut way to do that. There's so many different variables when it comes to how to do that, right? If you think about a company like Amazon right now, right? Amazon is benefiting from the current situation with COVID. Everyone is ordering products off of Amazon. Is that Amazon's fault? Should Amazon exist? Should someone like a Jeff Bezos be a billionaire? And, according to people like AOC and the Bernie Sanders of the world, by the way, I love Bernie too. I love him. I love his ideals, not his policies, but, they don't believe in billionaires. And that leaves for an interesting discussion, because when do you start taxing the rich, right? Like, when do you start? Because Amazon started out of a small garage, and if they had to face some of the tax burdens that maybe AOC is a fan of, then will we have an Amazon? And it's hard to say. So it's interesting. So she is selling a sweater for $58. So if you're just joining me, welcome to Live with Zai, the Money Guy. It's Sunday night. I do this every Sunday at 7 p.m. This episode is brought to you by Burger King. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. We're talking about money, and we're talking about finances. So leave any questions in the comments if you like. Please join us. We're going to have some fun. We're just talking about what's in the news, how money affects you, how you can save more money, how you can make more money. Leave me any questions in the comments. So that is the In the News segment. So we talked about Christmas being tight for a lot of people this year, and AOC selling a $58 sweater. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. What do you think? All right. Thank you. Okay, let's go to our next segment. So the next segment is TikTok shoutouts. So I do want to give some shoutouts to some fellow accounts. So on episode 1 of Live with Zai, the Money Guy, big shout out to Jonathan H63. Jonathan, if you're out there, thanks for joining. You were the first to join Live with Zai. Much appreciated. Is there anyone on right now? I see one viewer, Hassan. Hassan, are you out there? Leave me a comment, Hassan. I hope you're enjoying the show. Here's another shout out. And this one is Flex That Hustle Muscle. Okay? So that account is Flex That Hustle Muscle. It's a great account. It's on TikTok. I highly recommend that you follow it. And here's why. I watched one of her TikTok videos. It was 60 seconds long. And I learned so much from that single video. She taught me how to create a print-on-demand business, essentially. Right? It was a t-shirt store that I created on Etsy, and it was connected to Printful. And I followed her directions in a 60-second video. And, unbeknownst to me, and it was a complete surprise, I ended up selling a few t-shirts. Now, I didn't make $1 million, but I wasn't expecting to sell any t-shirts. I was doing that as an experiment, and it worked. So I think the entrepreneurship on TikTok is quite brilliant. I think people are making money. If you put in the hustle, you can make money if you're creative. And my t-shirt, I did zero marketing for it, and I sold 3 of them. I didn't make a lot of money. It was more of an experiment, but it was because of that TikTok account, and that account is Flex That Hustle Muscle. So check that out. If you're just joining, welcome to Live with Zai the Money Guy. It is Sunday, 7 p.m. This is episode 2, where we talk about money and finances and how it affects you, how you can save, and how you can make more money. Thanks so much for joining. This is Zai, the Money Guy. We are live. It's Sunday night. We're in front of a live studio audience. Thank you. Thank you. We've been talking about money tonight. Thank you. Thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind. Thanks for joining. I hope you're having a good night tonight. And on this segment of the show, we are giving TikTok shoutouts. So the next one is Jim Chung. Jim Chung. This is an excellent TikTok account. Another one that you should follow. And the handle is Jim Chung, JIMCHUONG. JIMCHUONG. I highly recommend that you follow that account. So Jim, I know Jim in person. He is a literal millionaire, and he's been in a few Canadian newspapers. During the mortgage crisis, he actually invested in real estate. He bought a few units for something like $35,000 each, and I'm not even kidding. And he started generating rental income from those units, and then he sold them. One thing led to another, and he became a millionaire. So I follow his account. He is brilliant. His financial advice is really good. Some might consider him a bit maybe old school. I'm a bit old school too, but I highly recommend you follow that account. It is Jim Chung, JIMCHUONG. This is the TikTok shoutout segment of my program. If you're joining, welcome to Live with Zai on Sunday night. I'm your host, Zai the Money Guy, where we're talking about money and finances. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments section. Thank you for joining. I hope you're enjoying your night. I have one more shout out, and this is for another user. So this is Pepperjack James. Now I want to give him a shout out because recently I saw one of his videos, and essentially what he was doing was he responded to, I think, a Kijiji or a Facebook ad where someone was giving away their empty bottles, their liquor bottles, right? Or their cans, right? So they would go to the beer store, drink their beer, they'd have all these cans, and the person who was giving the cans away was put out an ad asking for someone to pick them up. And this gentleman, Pepperjack James, he went and he picked the cans up, and then he took them to, I guess, the beer store or the liquor store, and he got the refund or the deposit for the cans. So to me, that was brilliant. And he made something like $36 for a half an hour. So to me, that's an example of real hustle and real initiative. So kudos to him. His account is Pepperjack James, and I actually duetted his account, and it went viral for some reason on my account. And it's like TikTok's weird because I make a lot of videos and I want mine to go viral, and then I duetted his and it went viral, and I was like, what the heck? I was trying to share his video because I was impressed by what he did. And the TikTok algorithm had a mind of its own. It is what it is, but I do want to give a shout out to him. So his account is Pepperjack James. Give it a follow. He's got a great account. He shows you how to hustle. He goes to Value Village, he turns stuff around, he gets deposits for beer cans, for bottles. To me, that's entrepreneurship if you think about it, right? He's making something from nothing, and that's what it's all about. So, all right. Good job, Pepper Jack James. All right, thank you. And this episode is brought to you by Burger King. Be your way, Burger King. Okay, let's go to the next segment of the show. And this is tonight's teachable moment. Excuse me. So, welcome to the show. If you're just joining, this is I, the Money Guy. I'm live every Sunday at 7 p.m. This is episode 2. And tonight's teachable moment is how to remove the stress out of Christmas shopping. Now, if you're not aware, Christmas, it happens every year around the 25th. Every single year. And usually what happens is people will do their Christmas shopping and worry about the bill in January or February. I used to do my shopping like that as well. It's quite normal, right? But with that comes a lot of stress. I'm sure you've felt that stress of, having to look at your credit card bill after the holidays. And usually you're playing catch up in January and February to pay off that bill. It's not the greatest feeling, and I'm going to give you a tip on how you can remove that stress for good. Now, there is a concept called your true expenses. And there's a budgeting software that I use. It's in my profile called You Need a Budget. And You Need a Budget taught me about this idea of true expenses. These are your inevitable expenses that you have throughout the year, no matter what. And I'll give you a great example. Your Christmas presents are an example of a true expense because it's unavoidable. You have to spend the money during Christmas if you're buying people presents, right? Now, what most people don't realize is if you just keep track of how much you're spending during Christmas, then you can prepare for the following Christmas. It's quite simple. So here is my teachable moment. So for this year, if you haven't done it, you can gather all of your receipts, right? And keep track of how much you spend on your Christmas presents. So let me give you an example. So say in 2020, let's say you add up all of your Christmas gifts, all the expenses for your Christmas gifts, and that amount is equal to $1,000. Okay, so if you estimate on average that you will need about $1,000 to cover your Christmas gifts for 2021, then you just take that $1,000 and you start saving for it now. You start saving for it on December 26th, right? And if you break that up into small monthly chunks, small monthly payments, right? Like the shopping network gets this concept, right? They just take the total amount and they break it down to small monthly payments. Then all you need to do is set aside $83 per month, which is about $40 per paycheck. And if you do that for an entire year, by the time 2021 comes around, you'll have $1,000 waiting for you in your savings account or your checking account or under your bed or in your envelope, wherever you put it. Okay, so that is my teachable moment, and that is how you can remove the stress out of your holiday shopping for good. Okay, if you're just joining tonight, thank you for joining. My name is Zai, the Money Guy. I'm live every Sunday at 7 p.m. I'll be doing this episode until I become famous. My goal is to become internet famous. This episode is brought to you by Burger King. Burger King, be your way. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Let's go to the next segment of my show. I will do a shameless plug. And do I sell a course? Of course I do. The course is in my profile. It's a beginner course called How to Budget Through Better Habits. And I'm not here to push it on you or be super aggressive about pushing it on you. But if you have interest in developing better savings habits, check it out. It's in my profile. It's a very elementary and beginner program for people who are just trying to wrap their head around how to get better with money, how to get better at saving money. So I watched a video by Gary Vaynerchuk, and he mentioned that no one teaches you how to save money. So I put together a course. It's a Udemy course. It's in my profile. If you're interested, check it out. There's no pressure. And there's also a link to, excuse me. There's also a link to the budgeting software that I use called You Need a Budget. That piece of software has revolutionized how I spend my money. That link is also in my profile, so you can check that out. I'll get a free month. It's not an affiliate link. I'll get a free month if you sign up. And to me, that free month, it's not even super important. Like I don't even care too much about that. But if you were to learn about YNAB and it made you better at saving your money, that would be more important to me. And I mean that. So that is the shameless plug portion of my program. And the last part of the show is the Q&A. So if you have any questions and you're just joining live with Zai the Money Guy, where we talk about finances, where we talk about savings and money, please do leave a question in the comment section. And there is one question that I hear a lot on TikTok, and it is, what would I do with $1,000? Where would I spend $1,000 in the market? What stock would I buy? So I hear this question all the time. And if I were to give my answer, I would, and I think I'm actually going to do a series on this. And it's going to be another TikTok series. I think it'll be a 10-parter. And I think I'm going to call it, what would I do with $1,000? If I had $1,000, what stock would I put it into? And I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek into that series, and I wouldn't put the money into a stock. I wouldn't, especially if I was just starting out. Instead, I think you can be way more creative with what you can do with $1,000. One of the first things that I would do is I would develop my skills further, especially if I'm young, if I'm in my 20s, or even if I'm in my 30s, at any age really. I would take $1,000 and I would treat that as an investment in myself. I'll give you an example. So when I'm not talking about money on TikTok, I'm a software designer for an enterprise company, and I do user interface design. And the way that I got good at that skill is I did some training at a school called General Assembly. But then I also took a user interface course, a UI course, and it's called Learn UI. The course is called Learn UI. And, one second, I'm just checking my following here. Right, so the course is called Learn UI, and it was $1,000. It was exactly $1,000. And it was the best investment because it took my user interface skills, right, from here all the way up to here. And he teaches how to use a software program called Sketch. Sketch is a popular software tool for designers. And I learned so much. So not all courses are scams, by the way, right? I know there are tons of those sort of get-rich-quick courses that are indeed very much a scam, and you should avoid those. But there's a lot of online training that is available that is top-notch. Just make sure to do your research, try to get references, read the reviews, research the person, see if they have any free content, and if you resonate with that content, then perhaps it's legit. Sometimes you have to take a little bit of a risk. But for the Learn UI, I took $1,000 of my money, I put it into that course, and it took my skill to another level. And the reason I would recommend that is because if you can improve your skills, then you can increase your value on the market. So for the cost of about $1,000, you could probably get a better position at any company and probably get an increase in, let's say, your salary by 10 to 20K just because you've upgraded your skill. So to me, that is a higher ROI than taking $1,000 and just dropping it on some stock, like on a Tesla stock, and just gambling in a way, right? I'm not saying the Tesla stock is a gamble. Well, maybe I am a little bit. It's a bit speculative, right? But I think for $1,000, and I'm going to do, I think, a 10-parter on this, I would probably invest in myself first for $1,000. And here's another thing I would do. TikTok is amazing. I mentioned before earlier in my show that I was following an account called Flex That Hustle Muscle. And through her account, I learned how to create a print-on-demand t-shirt store where I sold 3 t-shirts. 3. I know that sounds massive, but here's the thing. I wasn't trying to sell any t-shirts. I was just trying to set it up. I wanted to see if it worked, and it did. It was an Etsy store connected to Printful, all automated. It's print on demand, so I don't have any stock, and I just put a design together and it sold. And actually didn't even make, I don't think I even made money. I may have broken even, but the point is, it is extremely simple to, in today's day and age, especially for your generation, for this young generation, to get started as an entrepreneur, to get started selling t-shirts, to get started drop shipping. There's like so many people talking about this on TikTok, and a lot of that is legitimate. Here's the thing, you can't do it overnight. You won't become successful overnight. But if someone were to come to me and ask me, what would I do with $1,000? I would take that money and I would start my little side hustle business. I'd use $1,000 for, the print on demand thing was amazing because it didn't cost me any money. It cost me $0 to sell 3 t-shirts. But if I had $1,000 and I was young, then I would create a marketing budget, right? I would take a portion of that money and I would put it towards branding. I would put it towards Facebook ads. I would learn how to do Facebook ads. I would use it as test money. That $1,000 can go a long way, much further than if you were to just put it into the market and just guess at a stock. So that's what I would do with $1,000. And that brings us to the end of the show. It is Sunday night. This was episode 2. You're watching Sunday Night Live with Zai the Money Guy. I really do appreciate you coming out. Thank you for your support. Please stay tuned for our next episode, which will be next Sunday at 7 p.m. where I will be live once again. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions or comments, do let me know. This is Zai. I'm live. This is Zai the Money Guy. I am live. Hope everyone is having a good night. Hello, everybody. Let me know if you have any questions before I leave or any comments. Otherwise, I wish everybody a fabulous night. Thanks so much for joining. That's all for the show. We'll see you again next Sunday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Gonna make sure no one's joining. TikTok's telling me people are joining the show. Just want to let people know that I do a show every Sunday night called Live with Zai the Money Guy. If you have any questions about savings or making money, please let me know. Leave a comment, say hello. Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night. Do appreciate the support on TikTok. TikTok is amazing. So much fun. It's a great community. It really is. All right. I don't see any questions or comments coming in, so I am going to be live once again next week, 7 p.m. Sundays. By then, I hope I have 1 million followers, and then that way you guys can join. If not, I wish you all the best. I wish you a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.